Fighting the Ogre in Legacy is a great way to get a bunch of high-value crafting materials, and also a chance for green weapons and other equipment. I just recently figured out how to do it with melee, so I thought I'd make a quick video to show you what I learned. Here goes. I'm going to break this video into two main parts. One, I'll overview the different attack patterns that the Ogre has, so you get some familiarity with those before you try it yourself. And the second, I'll talk about my combat strategy that goes through when to dodge, when is the best chance for damage, how to heal, what gear I pick, all that stuff. Quick disclaimer, I'm not an expert in the game. I don't really know what a lot of the crafting materials are used for. I've just recently discovered how to beat this mini-boss with melee, and thought I would just share what I know. One other quick note on the class I pick. It is possible to fight the Ogre with any of the melee classes, Warrior, Priest, Rogue. I prefer the Rogue because of the Rogue's extra dashing, extra evading ability. It seems that the Rogue's single evade uses half the stamina of a single evade from a class like the Priest. This means it's a bit easier for the Rogue to evade multiple times and retain stamina. Stamina is kind of the most important resource for this fight, and so as a Rogue, I'm able to evade more often and not run out of stamina so quickly. It looks like the Ogre has 7 different attacks that you need to be able to identify and respond to if you want to be able to fight him solo. And those attacks are a regular single attack, which is a side-swiping horizontal attack. A regular double attack, which starts with an overhead and follows up with a side swipe. A quick punch attack. A big red slamming attack. A rock throw. A shout. And a charging leap attack. The Ogre's attacks can be bucketed into 2 main categories. The shout, the rock throw, and the charging leap attacks all seem to be triggered when your character is far away from the Ogre. The single attack, the double attack, the quick punch, and the big red slam all seem to be attacks that you're more likely to see when you're up close to the Ogre. The Ogre's shout attack is an area of effect. I'm not sure what the range is, but if you're hit by the shout, you'll get a slowing debuff that will make it harder for you to move around. The slowing effect can be avoided if you evade or dodge at the right time when the Ogre shouts. It also seems like the Ogre is likely to start combat with a shout, so when you initiate the fight, look for this one in particular. The rock throw has a very obvious attack animation, and can be dodged reliably if you're patient and just wait for the throwing arm to swing into motion. You can attack a couple times after the rock throw for good damage, but don't get greedy here. The reset time for the Ogre after the rock throw is short, and he can launch into another attack very quickly, particularly the quick punch, so heads up. The single and double attack seems to be the kind of default attack moveset for the Ogre. If the Ogre winds up for a horizontal attack, get ready to evade because the range for the horizontal swipe can be deceptively long. If you see the Ogre wind up for the overhead attack, just remember that this is the first of 2 attacks in this 2-attack combo. So dodge out of the way of the first, and make sure you've got enough distance to avoid getting hit on the follow-up. The quick punch is a difficult attack to spot. It has a fast wind-up and a fast delivery. Just listen for the audio cue and have your finger on the evade button when necessary. The charge and leap is an attack that only seems to be triggered when you are far away from the Ogre, and you can tell this is coming because of the audio cue and the wind-up animation. It's a pretty easy attack to get out of the way of. Just evade to the side and keep moving, and the Ogre should charge past and not really be any real threat. And the last attack is the big red slam. This one is clearly identifiable. the ogre will flash red and will wind up high in the air. Just try not to freak out and evade the attack to avoid taking damage, but try to stay close to the ogre because after this attack is done, he has a long reset animation where he kind of inspects the ground after the slam, and this is the best opportunity in the whole fight to deal serious damage. So for this back half of the video, let's talk about some of the combat strategy, just general tips and tricks for how to actually fight this thing using melee. The first is evading. Learning to evade the ogre's attacks is essential if you want to stay in melee range and keep up your damage output during the fight. The challenge is the ogre can sometimes attack a lot slower than you expect. The wind-ups are a little bit longer, the swinging is a little bit slower, so that means if you evade too soon, you are likely to get hit. Patience really is the key. Just wait that extra half second for the wind-up animation to be at its apex, and learn to time your dodges appropriately. Second thing to talk about are the best opportunities for damage, and the main takeaway here is try not to get too greedy with your attacks after a successful evade. I generally go for 2 attacks and then reset and get ready to evade again. Most of the time when I get hit, it's because I'm being greedy. So learning to pace yourself, do 1 or 2 attacks, reset, evade, and go again is a great strategy. There are 2 exceptions here. One is after the rock throw, I find that the ogre's reset time is quite short. So you really only have time for like 2 attacks maximum. And the other is after the big red slam. The big red slam, there's a very long kind of cooldown reset animation the ogre does, where he's kind of like looking at the ground. This is the best chance for a full weapon combo. So when you evade the big red slam, get ready to put out as much DPS as possible. It's the best chance. If I'm ever backed into a corner of the arena for the ogre and I feel like I don't have that much space to maneuver, that's the perfect time for a blade rush, because the blade rush will push you through the ogre's body and get you into the open space where you can make more space and react to his next attacks. If you get hit and you need to heal, it can also be good to time that healing after a blade rush once you've created more space, or wait until you see a big red slam, and that's a great time to do a bandage or drink a potion. And lastly, a quick note about the gear that I use. For Rogue, I think there are 2 really viable ways to gear up to fight the ogre solo. One is to use a poison kit, where you're applying poison counters, you're using the Viper's Kiss, you're using the Venom Weaver's shoulders that put down a poison cloud after a charge attack. You can do some pretty good tick damage with poison using this loadout, and that can be a good way to, in addition to your melee attacks, just keep up the DPS. But also you can go Hemorrhage Rogue. To do this, I use the Dunestalker's head wrap because of the extra Blade Rush attack, and I also switch my Affliction Claw to Hemorrhage instead of Poison, because building up hemorrhage on the opponent, when the hemorrhage meter is full, it deals a certain percentage of their total health. So you can see as I use Blade Rush, and I mark the target, and I build up hemorrhage, and I layer in my Hemorrhage Claw, my Affliction Claw, as the ogre hits that hemorrhage threshold, where it maxes out, you see the 600 damage done. That 600 damage is the hemorrhage top out, is the full bleed applied when the hemorrhage value reaches its max, and then the meter resets. So that extra 600 damage every couple of minutes is really, really helpful in getting the boss HP down. So there's 2 builds that I consider. There's the Poison Rogue build, there's the Hemorrhage Rogue build. I think both can work, depending on your preference and what gear you have available. And that's it. The only last thing to say is to pace yourself. This fight takes the better part of 10 minutes, depending on what your DPS is, which can be a long time. So if you drop into a map and you see that there's 15 minutes remaining, and you have to get across the map to even find the ogre, that might not be the best drop, the best session to attempt the boss. Also keep track of which extract you're going for, so after you beat the boss, you don't go to the wrong extract and realize that you can't get out and you die and you lose all your stuff. That may or may not have happened to me a couple of times. So, hope this video was helpful. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I'm happy to help if I can. Good luck out there. I'll see you around.